Hello, 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 collectors, buyers, and resellers. Welcome. Did you like that? I got a new microphone. I want to see if it is good or bad. Let me know down in the comments straight away. But like, that's really good, it's really bad, or afterwards. I honestly, doesn't matter. Just let me know if it's good in this new camera and everything, and the new setup, and how I look, and how my skin feels, and how everything looks. And I just got out of the shower. I just got back from the gym. I'm a little bit tired, and it's alright. It's 1 a.m. here in the lovely country of Australia, and I am ready to answer the AMA questions from April. Sit back and relax. These things, they kind of frustrate me a little bit. For one reason is I already recorded the whole video, but I didn't have something set up with the new microphone, and the whole thing was static. So round 2, we go with the AMA questions, and it should be a little bit better this time because I already answered all of them. So yeah, thank you. I hope you're doing great. I'm doing pretty good. Finished all the tasks I wanted to get done for the day. Around about midnight is usually when I finish. Up at around 8, 9, 10. Ready to go for the next day. So how it works is I will say the name of the person and then say the question, give my answer. We'll go to the next one. Have a little bit of fun. A lot of people's questions do revolve around the same topics, which is perfectly fine. I'll try to answer everyone's question in a little bit of a different way maybe. Give a little bit more information. Help you out a little bit more. And remember, at the end of the day, all of this is just my own personal opinions, my own personal feelings, nothing financial, nothing anything. I am simply just a cat that is transformed into a human being. Meow. So, Cheddar Bob asks me, one trophy card / promo / shield you would choose no budget. That's a pretty good one. That's a great question, Cheddar Bob. One trophy card from Pokemon that I'll probably pick would be the number 3 old back Pikachu trainer. I think anyone that doesn't say that is probably a liar. Let's just be real with that. So, thanks for your question. Elliot Hearn asks, can we call you Scuba? Now, can you call me Scuba? I think I would not prefer if you called me Scuba. I think I would prefer if you just called me Steve. But you could probably put Scuba and then Steve. That might work out quite well. But Scuba by itself, no thanks. My hair's kind of fluffy at the moment. I just got out of the shower, so I'm using the hat to like shield the shower hair. So thanks, Elliot. Mr. Locknet, how to collect Pokemon cards and girls. Pokemon cards, great for collecting. Awesome. They feel great. Everything about them. You can get as many as you want. Girls, honestly, not really sure. I'm not the best person to talk about girls. There's probably a bunch of dating advice YouTubers that can probably help you. The only piece of advice I can probably give you, Mr. Locknet, is find someone that's very similar to you that likes the same thing as you. That's pretty much it. My current relationship is quite successful. We both love Pokemon. We both love self-improvement. We both really enjoy staying inside and getting our own things done. And then eventually, later on in life, we plan on doing a whole bunch of stuff once we've finished our goals and things that we want to achieve before that. So thank you. Burton says, special delivery Steve. I think that's something to do with the thumbnail from the other video. Game View. Do you think you'll ever buy Modern English again? That's a hard one. Modern English is amazing, honestly. The market is just boom, bonkers. Modern Japanese is great too, but honestly, modern English, when it comes to overall volume, just trumps it big time. Especially in an English-speaking country like I am in the USA and in Australia, is like this just huge. So again, maybe yeah, I can see myself buying more like towards the middle end of this year, kind of like stocking up for Christmas for my game store. So I have a game store I have a deal with where it's quite a large game store. He sells quite a lot every month, and I stock him with some raw single Pokemon cards and graded cards, and he sells them in his store, and he takes a cut from me. So towards the end of the year, I'll probably stock up just for the Christmas period, just as many cards as I can. So I will eventually buy the Modern English, but I can't buy it and grade it and like enjoy it. Sorry, I got the hiccups now. There's no way I get the hiccups now. I can't buy it, enjoy it, and grade it like I do with the Japanese, because I love these cards. I mean, I love if I grade some of these Japanese cards. Let's just go like, you know, like this Leafeon Full Art from Eevee Heroes. It's just such an amazing looking card, and you know, just the 5-band graphics full art. I like the way all of them look, and I'm happy to buy it, grade it, hold it, put it up for sale. If I sell one, I'll go and buy another one. It's not really that serious for me. So Thank you for your question, GameView. Felix Andrew, I have 2 questions. Quickest and easy way to upload cards up to either eBay or website. I think you're just talking about eBay. So there's the bulk listings tool on eBay, and I'm sure if you just Google the bulk listing tool, you can get to it. But I get to it by going to my drafts, and then there's like usually I have a few drafts already there. I just click 2 of the drafts, and then I just go edit both or edit multiple or whatever it is. And then bulk listing tool that up, and then you can make a copy of your draft. So I have like listing templates in my drafts, and then I edit and I make duplicate copies of my listing templates, I guess, in the bulk listing tool. And you can just smash out all the titles, all the pictures really easily, and all the prices. And I think it is probably quickest and easiest is not always the best way to do something, but I definitely think the bulk listing tool is very handy. Just make sure you always have like really good photos front and back at a minimum. And if it's a raw card that has a lot of damage and it's quite expensive, maybe you want to throw some extra front, back, side to side photos. And then quickest isn't always the best. Like I take a little bit longer than most people to do my listings, but I like to make sure they're all done perfectly every single time with great scans, great item specifics, great titles, all that other stuff. I'm not really in a rush to sell most of my stuff though, so single game is really hard. It's more about quantity, but like when you're selling graded cards, it's like you can only list them. Like not that many people get back like 50 every day. Most people get like 100 a month. So you just do a few every day, make sure they're perfect, all that other stuff. And the second question is, how are you doing today? Not too bad. Normal day. Wake up I got out of bed around like 9:20 today. First thing I do is get out of bed, answer all my emails, Instagram messages, my YouTube comments, everything. I usually answer it all, one big whammy, get it all done throughout the day. Takes me to about 10 o'clock then. Prepare all my items for shipment, so I take everything out that's sold overnight and the previous day before I shipped everything. And then depending on like where the packages come in, so like today I got 10 PSA returns back, so I kind of like broke them down, pulled all the cards out, got them ready. I'll film them later on tomorrow. And then roughly like 10, 11, 12, 1 p.m., kind of get ready to eat some lunch, start packing all my items, get them ready for shipments, and then I start listing my items. So usually I would pull out like 20 or 30 cards and list them in like each day at a time, because I just had like, I make sure I go through my backlog. But at the moment I got like 1,000, 2,000 cards. Sometimes I just smash out like 100. Just I want to get down to around 300 cards, and then I'll start doing like 10% of the inventory every day. Kind of keeps me going. There's no reason to do it all in one day, but there's no real reason to like, I can't, because the returns will come back. They'll destroy me. So that's how I'm doing today. And now we got to the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, midnight, and I'm doing this return, AMA video for you guys. So thank you for the question, Felix. 10 times cracked gamer. That's a cool name, bro. Do you suggest getting reputation cards like Charizard, or like an expensive card like Raikou Gold Star? Also, how do you get an eBay listing to be active and like get views? So first question. Selling popular Pokemon, Raikou Gold Star is pretty popular, but it's quite expensive. So trying to sell, like, I'm guessing you'll get your question's kind of vague, but I'm going to take it as like selling really popular Pokemon that are cheap versus trying to buy an expensive Pokemon card and reselling that one. The expensive card's very rough. I think you have to actually really be enjoying those cards to buy them and then sell them. I don't think you can ever get into it and be like, that's a cheap Gold Star, I'll pick that up. Because you won't ever really know if it's a cheap Gold Star unless you're like into the Gold Stars and like market price for Raikou played is 150, like light played is 250, near mint's 400, like mint's 600, gem mint's 1000, PSA 10's like 1500, and you can kind of like average your risk tolerance. These are kind of be some big words for you. I'm guessing 10 times cracked gamer. You might be a bit young, so you kind of want to know what sells. And I think on the really cheap stuff is really good for people who are just starting out. I'm not saying you're just starting out, but I'm just going to guess you probably are just starting out. You want to stick to cards between $1 and $10. Learn how to ship, learn how to use the eBay envelope system, learn how to package the items, learn how to manage buyers' expectations, learn how to list items like 5 to 10 per day, perfectly fine for a beginner. Just list like 10 $1 items today. I think selling $1 items on eBay, they don't cost you anything. Maybe you got some bulk, some reverse hollows, some little things here and there. It's not really about making money when you're right at the start. It's about like understanding the overall systems of eBay, online selling, becoming responsible for other people's money and cards, becoming responsible for your own schedule. All these other things are like super important when you're first starting out. Not so much about like which cards you actually buy, but overall, just making sure, you can pick up some Pikachu, some Charizard, some Gengars, some Mewtwo's, really popular Pokemon along the way. And they do generally sell faster. I mean, sometimes I buy a completed set. Let's use base set, for example. I would buy, back in the day, a complete set of base set. I would receive it, and I would sell the Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur as singles as fast as I possibly could. And that would usually, as a single, cover the whole cost of the base set. So I sold the 3 most popular cards in the whole set. And now I'm left over with a pretty much complete base set, and then I can break down and sell as singles over time and then gain inventory that way. Because I used to really like the old school cards. That's what I used to do. I used to try and buy completed sets from people, sell the most expensive cards first to get my money back as fast as possible, and then I would sell the little stuff over time for less, because it was less popular, wouldn't sell as fast. Like some trainer rares from like base set and like Gym Heroes and Team Rocket, they sell for quite a bit, but they don't sell quite often, so you just got to build the inventory on those. Hope that helps you with your question. Fuecoco, I think is that the starter? Fuecoco? I don't know how to say that. Is that the starter Pokemon from Scarlet Violet? What are your thoughts on the recent Chinese market, the high quality and all round that? So I think you're talking about just like buyers from China entering the Japanese Pokemon market mainly and just buying as much as they possibly can. What are my thoughts? Man, it's crazy. I haven't really thought about it too much because it's just nuts. Some cards, I know some people in China, some buyers that have 50 to 100 trophy cards. I know some that just bought like every single Japanese promo of a certain one off eBay and all the Japanese sites I can think of. I know some guys have just completely wiped out the chance of like ever getting some cards for most people for a normal price. Some cards have been pushed from $500 to $5,000. Whether it'll stay that way, whether they'll eventually sell, or whether it's all just an investment, or whether they need the money, I really don't know. It is really hard because most people collecting Pokemon cards, people watching this video, I think 60 to 70% are like 25 to 34. Most of us, because that's me included, are just getting on our way in life. And like we're just getting up there. Like maybe we get our first serious job. Maybe we first like get out of like just being part-time or casual in our jobs, and we're getting out full-time jobs and getting our wages, but we haven't hit that like awesome stride in like the late 30s and like mid 40s where you get like the full serious full-time job that you get like the highest payout. And they've kind of just come in and just 10x some of the cards and just made them completely, even if you got the higher pay, you wouldn't be able to get it. So it's crazy, to be honest. I never could have seen it coming. No one could have seen it coming. I sold many cards to many Chinese buyers just buying it off my eBay account. People in Singapore's another place where there's so many collectors now. It's actually unreal. So yeah, my thoughts don't really matter. I'm just someone who lists the cards for sale, and I hope they keep them for a long time. I hope they cherish the cards. I hope they eventually learn to collect them and enjoy them, but it's up to them what they do with the cards. I can't really decide what other people do with their cards. Danny Zard TCG, how's it going? What YouTube content do you consume? And are there any channels you'd recommend? To someone new in the Pokemon collection and reselling space. Okay, that's pretty key points. So first one, what YouTube content do I consume? Alpha Investments, Daily Refinement. Top 2, I try to watch almost every video they do. Extremely good at. Like Daily Refinement, probably one of the best online sellers I've ever seen in ways that he explains what he does in great detail, and he harps on and he reminds you of the absolute basics of the most important. Because the difference between someone like me, let's say, I'm pretty big up there in the Pokemon sphere. I'll sell 30 to 40 items a day across like both my stores. That's not a huge amount. He sells like 250 items a day. It's just like, what is that? What even is, I couldn't even imagine. Like, I feel like maybe my sales might be a little bit higher, but his volume is just like destruction level. And he has a full business made out of, and America has more people, they have more buyers, and everything's a bit more crazy. But I definitely, Daily Refinement, Alpha Investments is one of the two. Rudy is just one of my idols. He's amazing. He's great. Everything he makes is just great, best. The people in Pokemon don't really give anywhere close to the level of advice. Gotta Catch 'Em All Dan, he's another good one. He gives like very close advice, but I know that he watches Rudy and he watches Daily Refinement just like me. So yeah, those two. Because there's some people in the Pokemon's like a little bit childish. It's all about like drama and reselling, and I'm sure there's some great channels out there that teach you how to like do things better with single cards on eBay. So maybe you can find those and let me know of them so I can be more aware of them. But as far as I'm aware, I don't really search for it because I already kind of know how to do all the stuff that I want to know, so I don't really go onto YouTube for that kind of stuff. But if you find a really good channel, let me know of it, And I'll use that next time for that question. Cat films. What sites do you use to find good collection deals on without the risk of a scam? Amazing question, Cat films. Let me just... Are we still recording? 15 minutes so far. Nice. So, loaded question. What sites do I use? I buy off eBay.com, Yahoo Japan, and Mercari.com Japan. That's it. Unfortunately, there is no special websites that you can go through and they just have huge things listing and it's just like a money button and you can press it over and over again. Doesn't really work. Without the risk of scam, I think if you are a brand new buyer and your budget for purchasing cards is like, I'm going to use under like $100 to $200, let's say per fortnight, $400 a month. Do not buy from Japan. You do not have the amount of money to like risk. Japan is kind of turning into like a haven for them, for like sellers in Japan. Not everyone's a really nice person. There is many sellers in Japan that are definitely taking advantage of as many people as they possibly can from the Western world and buying through these middleman websites like Buyee and Zenmarket. Buyee and Zenmarket are two websites you can use to purchase from Yahoo and Mercari. So let's break that down. So Buyee, Zenmarket, middleman websites, Yahoo, Mercari, the websites that people list the items on. That's the thing. But I do not recommend actually buying from Japan if you really don't know what you're doing, because you can't get your money back. You actually can't get your money back, and they will scam you over and over again, because sometimes you'll find a listing with a let's just use Shining New Korokoro as an example. It's a very popular one. They'll have a near mint to mint example listed on their page. You'll buy it. The seller will notice you're buying with a middleman website, and they'll just send you a damaged one, and there's absolutely nothing you can do. You cannot do anything. You will never get your money back. And it's very scary. So I recommend all new people stick on eBay and maybe even don't resell at all for the first 6 months. Figure out what you like to buy. Find some cards you like to collect. It's not really about reselling. And the best resellers in Pokemon that I know of is Rusty, TCA Gaming. Absolute god, right? I mean, when I first started in 2015, he had like 40,000 feedback on eBay. He was like an actual god. And insane collector. One of the best. You know, Charlie Herlocker. Herlocker, I guess. Insane reseller. One of the best that I've ever seen in buying with the intention to sell. And he's made a lot of money. But he's also an insane collector. He started with collecting. There is no reseller that I could even think of who resells cards with the intention to buy more, who isn't the collector first, because you just can't beat us. You actually can't beat us. You can't beat me. You can't beat Charlie. You can't beat Rusty. It doesn't work because we're so deep and we're entrenched. We know exactly the values of everything we look at. We research. We live, breathe 15 hours a day Pokemon. It's just, you can't beat us. It's just, you have to be a diehard collector first to be an extremely good reseller. You can't just jump in. Maybe in the last 2 years, like 2020 or 2022, it did work. But now these people, I can see them failing constantly, flailing around. Where's the easy money? Where's this? And they're just kind of just failing. And it's not good to see. I don't want anyone to lose money. But if they just was more of a collector and understood the reasons why, the fundamentals of why people actually liked buying and why yourself likes buying the things, it's really helpful. So find good collection deals without the risk of a scam. It doesn't exist. I'm really sorry to burst your bubble. That's just it. It doesn't exist. And if you do find it one day, I'm very happy for you because there was no skill involved and it was pure luck. There have been many deals over the years that I've purchased with no intentions to win, and I have won on them. And there has been many deals with an intention to win, and I have got completely destroyed. It's all luck at the end of the day when you're buying huge things. Let's go to Weedle's Warehouse. Any plans of coming to the US this year? How about Japan for Worlds? No plans to go to the US at all. Not really that interested in the US. Japan for Worlds. Maybe. I can see myself going to Japan. Might be fun. I get to meet up with a lot of collectors I've known over the past almost decade. It would be awesome. My first time out of the country. I've never really traveled. I don't really had time. So that sounds pretty good. H Visuals. Where do you find and buy your singles and in the condition you find them in? So first question, I already mentioned all the places I purchased from earlier, eBay, Mercari, Yahoo. I do not recommend you purchase from Mercari, Yahoo because you'll get destroyed. And in the condition you find them in, I'm not really sure what that means. If you've seen most of my mail days, a lot of the times when I buy older cards, they're always damaged. I buy the modern cards and they're usually pretty good condition because they're just modern. You can buy modern cards on eBay quite easily. So it's not a question that can be answered. It's I think if you're gonna ask if anyone in the future is ever gonna ask a question, it's not like people in the future are gonna even watch this video and then go on a new video and even ask something like this. But I really wanted to like, Steve, what do you recommend ways that I can find singles better? And I would answer it something like, I recommend you spend at least 1 hour a day researching. Here's what I do every day. I research a lot. I go on eBay.com and then I go on Terapeak. That is eBay's like research tool, which is seeing what it actually sells. So you can find trends that way. You can find popular, like the way, like the amount of sales every month, every day, every week in each region in the world. But on eBay.com, you go sold listings, and I type in Pokemon PSA Japanese. That's what I specialize in. And I just go and I go through the first like 20, 30 pages every like second or third day. And then when I'm not doing that, I type in Pokemon PSA Gengar. I find some Gengar cards that are selling. You know, I type some Pokemon PSA Charizard. I find Charizard cards that are selling. I'm just constantly researching and trying to get better on like the knowledge part, because it doesn't really matter. Even if you had the golden websites that had all these singles listed, you wouldn't even, if you don't know what they sell for, how do you know if it's a good deal? So up the research game, figure out what sells, then you'll find singles. Then you'll start realizing, just looking on anywhere in the world, you'll understand, hey, I think that's undervalued because I just saw that sell the other day for $7. And that guy has it listed for $4. I'm going to pick that up. Oh, this guy, he looks like he's a newer seller and he's like, photos aren't too great. Oh, I'm buying his stuff and maybe he doesn't really know how much this is. But oh, that's pretty good. That's a $10 card. He's listed for $3. That was the first one. Also, another point is like, I search for 8 hours a day looking for cards to buy. I buy a lot. I buy a lot of cards. I spend $100,000 a month. I buy a lot of damn cards. So 8 hours a day searching, and some days I go without buying anything. So even if there are like good deals, they might actually not exist. And they're singles, and you might always get destroyed on the condition. It's really rough. It's really hard. I hope that helps you. Andy Hong. Hi, Steve. Greetings from Canberra. Canberra, mate. How's it going, Australian, mate? Yeah, bloody hell. Just wondering where I can buy some Japanese alt art cards within Australia, as the graded ones are too expensive. It's really hard, man. Most Japanese cards are opened in Japan or in the US. Very little Japanese product gets opened in Australia. That's why the Japanese singles market in Australia doesn't really exist. The buyer pool really isn't there. Obviously, you are a buyer, you're looking for them. What I would recommend is you buy PSA 9s of sellers that have not got the fabled PSA 10 and kind of got destroyed. Most of the time, you should be able to find that for roughly around the same price as the raw one. Maybe a little bit more, but then you don't have to chance that it's getting damaged or like lost during shipment or it's creased and the seller's hiding it. Just buy some PSA 9s, PSA 8s of some of these Japanese cards, because sometimes they get that. And that's the best I can hope. If you just want the raw ones, you don't want PSA 10. That's the best I can help you. Yeah. Jesse Juan Zems, is that how you say that? I'm really sorry. I'm not really good with names. Jesse Guitar. Hey Steve, how do you put your store logo on your eBay listings, which show in the search result page? Hope this makes sense. I've been trying to find out, but Google doesn't understand me. So ebay.com.au, Australia, a very high up person in eBay reached out to me 2 months ago or a month ago, and they said, hey Steve, you sell the most single cards in the trading card game category, the CCG individual cards category, out of anyone else in Australia for the last 2 years. And I was like, well, I didn't actually know that I was number one for 2 years, but it's news to me. Thanks for that. And he's like, we want to put your logo on your listings just so we can show that you are like a trusted and one of the best eBay sellers on ebay.com.au. And that's pretty much it. So they put my logo there because I sell the most cards. I don't think I sell the most cards, but I think like total value of cards sold is more than anyone else in Australia. And that doesn't really mean that I sell the most in Australia. It just means I sell the most on eBay in that category of single cards. There's probably card sellers of booster boxes that sell 10 times what I do. And just because I have the most sales, it generally means it's because I'm spending the most amount of money than anyone else also, most likely. So it's not really like a correlation one-to-one sort of thing. And that's how I have the logo. So I don't think it's available to most people with a normal eBay store. VUONG3R1. Is that Vuongeri? Any Australian specific tips and tricks on collecting down under, storage solution, shops, etc. Well, storage, it's very humid here. So like I have on right now, I have my humidity control on my aircon or whatever that dries out the room a little bit. I have that on during most of summer, keeps the humidity down, makes sure all my cards don't get damaged. Don't put your cards in the closet next to your bedroom, next to your ensuite with your bathroom, because all the steam from your shower will warp the cards over time. Don't put them in a safe and keep the safe locked for weeks and weeks on end. Make sure you open the safe up every 2 or 3 days, air it out, get some humidity packets in there, whatever they're called. Do that kind of stuff. Dehumidifiers really help. Any stores, I really don't know. I'm sorry. I don't leave the house. I don't know of any good stores in Australia. Obviously, I would just go on eBay and then find people at eBay shops, and then maybe if they have a website, go to their descriptions and go to the website so you can get the prices a little bit cheaper. Medisand. Where are most of your buyers coming from, and do you feel like you would have an easier time buying and selling if you lived in a different country? Where are most of my buyers coming from? It's basically like 50% international, 50% domestic. Lately, it's a lot more international than it ever was domestic because I think the Japanese market is growing internationally. Singapore, Hong Kong, China, even selling back to Japan a lot of the time. Like Malaysia is a pretty big one. Some parts of Europe are quite large. UK I send to quite a lot. The US, obviously. Now, I've always thought that I kind of get the short end of the stick being in Australia trying to sell cards, because in the US they have the grading facilities are there and they have 300 million more people than we do. And, their dollar's more stronger against every other currency. I don't have to pay international currency transfer fees with my card. I don't have to pay all these other fees and all this crap pretty much. But end of the day, I get a little bit of perks living in Australia. First of all, Australia is awesome to live in. Absolutely amazing weather. I have a beach 3 minutes away from my house. It's very hard trade-offs. My whole family's here, everything like that. I feel like if I was in the US, I would probably absolutely dominate, but I feel like I don't do that bad even just being here. So it sucks, but it is what it is. Josh, thanks for the question, by the way. Josh K, since you're based in Australia, who's your biggest market when selling graded cards? Well, yeah, I guess it's probably Australia. But Australia is a lot of the cheaper stuff that's under $500. A lot of that I sell domestically, because if someone wants to buy a $60 card, maybe I have it for $60, but in America it's $40. But after shipping and fees and taxes, because I have to pay all those things to get the cards here, and bigger shipping and import taxes and everything and GST, I can sell it kind of they can buy it off me for a little bit less. But when it gets the more expensive cards and the rare cards and the trophy cards, it's obviously international. DrewTube 2012. What are your views on buying empty Wizards of the Coast booster boxes for display? 25 years later, do you think the prices are bottomed out, or are they likely to be worthless in generations' time when all the today's kids are 30 and want Sword and Shield product? I gotta drink the water before we answer this question. Alright, YouTube. I'm all lubed up now for you. Does this microphone sound good if I go really close? Is this a weird angle? I don't really know. I mean, I'm a talking piece of paper, and this is just what I look like. DrewTube. Empty booster boxes. I have a few from the EX era Japanese. I have a few Diamond and Pearl empty open ones. Overall, I think it's more of just a tic-tac end consumer. The last person that buys it off someone is probably the person that's just going to get it. That's the kind of item I can imagine that's on the level of a plush. It's kind of it's rare because it's the booster box, but people want the cards, they don't really want the booster box. I can buy a plush, and maybe this ghastly plush goes from $10 to $25 in 25 years. Pretty big return, but at the end of the day, you got to enjoy the fact that you had the artwork of that booster box on the shelf for 25 years with no inherent value, because it's just an open, empty pieces of cardboard. Even though trading cards are pieces of cardboard, but they're kind of a little bit more significant. In my opinion, I would just, if you want to enjoy them, buy them, keep them on display. That's it. But you can't enjoy something and then also worry too much about the financial side of it. So, if you really think that kids of today, when they're 30, are going to enjoy Sword and Shield product, well, maybe, if that's your opinion, if that's what you really think is going to happen, I think you should probably sell your empty booster boxes and then buy some Sword and Shield product. So kids, when they're 30, if you want something, and display the Sword and Shield product in your house. But you can't have it both ways. You can't have the thing that you want, but the thing that you think other people might want at the same time. It's just how it is. So I don't really have many thoughts on that, but empty Wizards of the Coast boxes not too bad. I think I saw some empty first edition base boxes selling for like $500 to like $1,000, right? So some of them aren't that bad, but overall I think people just enjoy the cards more. Miguel Vega. Regarding everything in your personal collection, what are the top 3 Grails? My top 3 Grails. So there's the Victory Ring Charizard Mega Battle card that I have. It's in my Pikachu collection. You can see it's the one with the Charizard at the top of the case, and it's like an XY Victory Ring trophy from the Charizard Mega Battle event. 2014, I think? 2016, something like that. The GX Battle Boost Lily that I bought for $200 in 2020, like March or something. Now apparently it's like 30,000. I guess that's one of my Grails now that it's so expensive. And then most likely my Snap Coffee. But there's so many. You could probably go 2 or 3 weeks time. And I mean, I have like original art from artists. I have drawings from artists that they've done for me personally. I have amazing things. I have gifts from friends that I really enjoy. I have all these plushes on the wall that I really enjoy. Top 3 is like really hard because I might buy something in a month's time that completely topples everything that I've ever seen in my life. So yeah. Brody Plays. Not a question, but share with us your coffin collection. Well, there's the other one right there. The other one's in the bank. How the heck do we get artist signings in Australia? I have no idea, man. I really wish. I had no idea. Artist signing in Australia would go wild. I would be camped out like 6 weeks beforehand. Lord RK, how's it going, man? You've been around for a long time. How do you separate yourself from the grind? Before I finish this question, this can be multiple parts. How do I separate myself from the grind? Man, it's not easy. I don't. That's pretty much it. I don't. I'm like, because I work from home, and obviously I still live at home, so I live in my house. I wake up and that's it. It's like go time. There is no like, wake up, enjoy the morning, have some time. Maybe I go for a walk in the morning sometimes, just like in my body, like, you know, going. I do some of these bad boys, but overall, I don't separate myself. You know, it is what, 1 a.m. right now, and I'm doing a Ask Me Anything for people on YouTube because, you know, I want to grow the YouTube channel, but I also want to help as many people as I can. And that's just something I have to do that I said I was going to do today, and it's part of the grind, and I'm not putting it off. That's just how it is. It's just, you know, tomorrow I'll probably wake up 7, 8, 9 o'clock, do the same thing again. Next day I'm going to do the same thing again because I don't really have a choice anymore. I've kind of set myself up to do this. I don't have a choice. I have to do this. I have, 1,000, 1,500, maybe even 2,000 graded cards that have to be scanned, listed, sorted, inventorized. I have backstock that needs to be inventorized, put in spreadsheets. I have taxes to do. I have this to do. I have that to do. I have stuff to my single store to do. I have stuff for my game store to do. I do not separate myself from the grind because I put myself in this situation. Let's address the rest of the question. Where were you? Especially when eBay/Gmail is 1 click away and your collection and inventory is in the same room. Yep, that's a hard. So sometimes I'm not very good with it, to be honest. I can't separate myself from my phone a lot of the time. I'm always making sure I have my Gmail or my eBay account 1 click away. So if someone messages me, I can give them an answer within seconds. Someone messages me on Instagram, before I go to sleep, I clear it out. I answer every single question. Before I get a message from a buyer on eBay, I answer as fast as possible, just trying to like guarantee a sale, help them out, do anything I possibly can. I do not separate myself from this. How do you do it? How would you normally do it as a normal person? The easiest way to do it is if you were working a normal job. I think if you're not working a normal job, you kind of owe it to yourself to not separate yourself from the grind. Because that kind of is. If that is all the money you have coming in, well, it's extremely serious. It's gone from not so serious to mega serious. So if you're not working, it is fully serious and you can't separate yourself. If you are working, it's like you have a 1 hour schedule, maybe before you start work, you completely do every eBay duty. You don't do anything else until you finish until you go to sleep, wake up the next day. Or you do like a 10-minute schedule, you answer every message, you answer everything, you pack whatever orders. Comes at the end of the day, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, you come in from work. Then you list for 1 hour. You sort, list, look for items to buy 1 to 2 hours maybe, because 1 hour doesn't get you that far with doing everything, but maybe 2 hours. So you spend 2 hours, maybe 15 minutes a day on your eBay side business plus collecting. You try to limit yourself from talking in Discord. You limit yourself from watching YouTube trash drama. Try to focus all the spare time you have on like motivational content and scheduling and all this other stuff to get better and better and better at it. But it is hard, man. Like, honestly, it's hard. I could never do it. I could never separate myself. I'm fully in. Maybe in a few years' time, we'll probably wind down. Maybe it's going so well, I don't want to wind down. Because this is the thing. Some people ask me, that's boring. You just sit inside all day and you just do this and you just sit on your chair and whatever. You just sit, look for items to buy. I love it. I fucking love it. Like, I get a good deal. I love it. I make a good sale. I love it. It's like I get a good grade. I love it. It's, you know, I meet some good people. I love it. I get some good questions on the video. I love it. I managed to answer the question quite well. I love it. Like, it's all a thing for me. It's a continuous cycle of improvement. All right. Thanks for the question, Lord RK. Shug Nasty. What's going on, man? What are some underrated PokeTubers that you think more people should watch? My friend Trainer JI started a YouTube channel. Quite a nice guy. Pretty awesome. Watch him. He teaches me a lot. He's been doing this for a little bit longer than me. I ask him questions almost daily. He helped me reinventarize my whole system. I help him with a bunch of stuff. He helps me with a bunch of stuff. Pretty good guy. You know, net positive overall in this world. David Aspelund. If you couldn't collect trophy cards anymore, what would you be putting in your PC? Well, before I bought any trophy cards, I was really big on Pikachu promos, full art trainers. Oh, that's pretty good. I'm pretty shallow, right? Isn't that all that's expensive and like popular right now is Pikachu promos and full art trainers? Am I a sheep? Am I a sheep? No, I wasn't a sheep because I bought them before they were expensive. So I'm technically a visionary. But that's it. Full art trainer, Pokemon Secret Rares, and Pikachu promos. That's pretty much it. All the full arts and whatever else they're bringing out, I would go back and knock every single one out. Probably every Pikachu card eventually. And then maybe I would... Not really like a set collector, but I like the idea of collecting like all the ultra rares from a set. So like maybe getting all the gold stars together, or all the EX cards, or all like the black and white shinies in like one thing. That would probably be what I get next to. I hope that helps. Snow Links. In the video uploaded after this video, I remember the one, you had a PSA 10 Latios and Latias special deck. For a card this cool, what is the expected time it takes to move such card? Let me see if I can find this. How good's that? So for the sake of the video, I'm going to pull these out. This is why you should have a really well-sorted inventory so you guys can just find this stuff. So he's talking about these two cards. And what is the time frame expected to move such a card? So those two cards are sequential. I actually have them listed in a set together and I'm not selling them separately. It's very, very rarely I do this. I do it with legend cards and I do it with very niche things like that. Cards like those, it depends on your sell level. If you were like a brand new seller and you got that on your first grading return, I say sell that shit as fast as possible. Sell that shit, pay off your grading return, get all your stuff going. Love the fact that you got those cards. Whatever the market price is, if they're $500 for the set, listed at $450 or even auction it, maybe it goes for $380 to $420. If you paid under like $100 and you graded them, you make a few $100, that's great. For a newer seller, faster selling generally is a little bit better. For a seller like me, I don't know what I listed it at, but whatever I listed it at, it hasn't sold yet, so it must be pretty high. I can wait a whole year. I can wait 2 years. I can wait 3 years. Honestly, I don't really run my financial accounts down so bad that I need to like fire sell a lot. I generally just, if I maybe like I auction some stuff up sometime, I just want to clear some space, or I just want to ship some things, meet some new customers. Stuff like that. These days, I'm really just looking forward to like stacking the inventory, and that's something that's really awesome and someone eventually will want. But you can sell most things pretty fast if you just like price them at the market price. There isn't really, you know, if you just put them like 20% low, like last sold, or 20% lowest list, you'll probably sell it, to be honest. So I think I might be like $200 more than the next person, but I'll list them for a while and I'll keep them up. So it depends on what you list them at, I guess, depending on the market. But overall, a card like that, I want to hold on to it for as long as I can so I can get the highest price. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but someone's making a lot of noise out there. It's my cats. Give me 1 second. What's going on with these cats? Oh man, cats are so funny. So I put something on the bench, and I had a cat that just knocked it, and it's gone all over the floor. How good's that? Is that what cats do? You have cats, they do that? Sorry for my outburst. That was kind of weird. XerGG. Do you send your Japanese cards to get graded in America, or would it be at their Tokyo location? I send my cards to PSA America. A few submissions that I had last year, I sent to PSA Japan, which is basically a middleman that sends it to PSA America and then back to PSA Japan. They made that to make submitting from Japan a little bit easier for the Japanese submitters. But PSA was closed and PSA Japan was still open, so I used that as a way to like send through Japan. And it didn't really work out because most of my Japan orders finished after my PSA bulk orders finished 6 months after they opened. So it was kind of lame, but that's how it is. Next question. Losty. Do you think EX Era Reverse Hollows are currently underpriced and underrated? Well, you might think that, to be honest, based on how this question is, because you wouldn't bring it up if you didn't think that. Unless you think they're overrated and you want to know my position. But I don't really use those kind of terms like ever. I'm not sure if anyone's ever heard me say underpriced or overrated. Everything's generally where it needs to be at all times. And that's just how it is. I think there's a lot of EX Reverse Hollows in PSA 10. I'm sure you're talking about English, right? I don't even think they're in Japanese EX Reverse Hollows, but in English, I would say the 10s are overrated and overpriced, and maybe the 8s and 9s might be a little bit underpriced, just relative, because like you have some of the 10s I've seen $500 and some 9s are like $50. And that's just kind of ridiculous, to be honest. English cards are kind of stupid like that, but people pay a lot more to make sure there's not one less white dot on their card. And, you know, you get one per pack. Some of these boxes are like $40,000. So I would say some of the ones that might be underrated. I haven't even looked. I have no idea about the EX Reverse Hollow market, especially English cards. But I can imagine some of the cards in the most expensive boxes and the reverse slot of those cards would probably be, maybe you can pick them up quite cheap because no one can replace those ever again. So whatever's out there is out there. So there's a chance that maybe in the future you might buy some now and they become harder to get and other people desire them more. But overall, I think they're like just an extra thing in the sets. Reverse hollows for most of the things are pretty desirable, I think, in high grades. A bunch of Japanese reverse hollows like EX Battle Boost and Legend reverse hollows, and what else am I thinking? Like Best of XY reverse hollows are really popular, so I can imagine that EX reverse hollows in high grades are also quite popular. And I wouldn't really say a card's like underrated or underpriced if it sells for like multiple hundreds of dollars PSA 10. But if you like them, just buy them. Maybe in the future you might get lucky. Remember, I'm a cat and there's no financial advice. Meow. Canman asks, why do you separate your single store from your main one on eBay? Just curious if the single store is more prone to negative feedback, etc. So pretty much I list all my graded cards through Shopify, and there's a website, and I have an app that pushes all my items to eBay, and I can manage them on Shopify. And I created a website a long time ago to help manage my inventory and help so people don't get forced taxes when they buy on eBay, and I can kind of manage it. And a lot of people message me on Instagram like, hey Steve, can you do 10% less? And most of my website prices are just 10% lower than my eBay price. So it's like people can save the fee buying off the website, and they don't have to go on eBay, and they don't have to message me, and I still have my accounting right, and everything is documented, and it's nice for me. Single store is a separate one. It's managed by my partner, the whole thing. So the decision was to give her a completely separate store where she buys, sells, and lists all her own cards there. Well, she doesn't buy them, but she sells and lists all her own cards there. And it's a good buy. She can be accountable for those cards, and that's pretty much the best way. I think singles, because they're a little bit cheaper. One sec, water break. Water break time. Ugh. I think, I wouldn't say singles necessarily, but cheaper cards between $1 to $20 create 90% of the problems on eBay. And I sell mainly graded cards, so my store is basically problem free. 1 in 1,000 orders might be I don't like this grade, or this case has a scratch on it, or something like that. But overall, graded card buyers are generally pretty happy, in my opinion. Single card buyers would be like, you listed this as played, and I think that's moderately played, which is perfectly fine. You can just return it. But most of the problems, and the single card store, we might sell like $5,000 a month, and the greatest card store might do $100,000 a month. So I don't want to put 95% of my problems with 5% of my revenue, sort of thing. So we separated them for those reasons. I hope you like that answer. Jay Bake, what's up, dog? That's cool. I'm going to start being more hip towards the end of this video. How do you know which cards are worth grading? It's a good one. I'm trying to start a single store, and I would like to know your thought process on which cards to buy for grading. So, Jake, I'm going to be honest with you. I need a drink of water with this one, because my mouth is getting really dry. That's oh man, wrong hole. Jakey, J Bakey. Now you listen to me. How do I know which cards are worth grading? Because I keep all the information in here and I don't tell anyone, and I gatekeep it. Oh, my mouth just made a weird noise. I hope you don't hear that on your side. Alright, Jake. Here's what I do. I'm going to use some examples from my own graded inventory, and I'm going to give you an idea. Now, what works for me isn't really what works for a normal submitter or a newer submitter or a newer seller, because your capital is worth a lot more to you on a lower scale. So me, when I spend, let's just use US dollars for all these. When I spend $15 US on grading, and I have the card, you can obviously see around me. Every single one of these is like 15. Some of these are graded at higher tiers, and I've had them for longer as well. So they're not all 15, but it's like 15, 15, 15. You know, pick up these cards. How many? There's like 10. $150 in grading fees. So it adds up quite a lot. So most people who are new, they can't afford to hold on to so many graded cards at once. But because I've been doing this for so long, and I've bought and sold maybe 20, 30,000 graded cards, I get to the point where I get to keep a few with the profits and the amount of more cards I buy, and I just grade more cards and I put all the money back in. Now, what's a great card to use as an example of this? Red's Pikachu. Now, obviously, you probably know what Red's Pikachu is. Let's see if we can get that in the camera. Amazing card, great holo. Mr. Jake, this is like, you should pay me for this advice. This is really good advice. So pretty much, how do I know which a card's grading? Well, I'm a collector, right? Collector first mentality. I really like the cards. So you have like the thought. You know, I might be a cat with this hat. I'm a cat in a hat, but I'm a collector as well. So this is the Red's Pikachu card. And I'm a collector, and I look at this, and it hits me in the feels, because obviously Red and Pikachu, all the other things. Now, because I'm a collector, I know this is a desirable card, because I know other collectors that also like this card. It gets to the point where it's like, okay, well, I buy a Red's Pikachu for myself. I'm like, pretty cool. Let's just use examples. These aren't real sales, but let's say this card's $20 raw. Let's use $40. $40 is a little bit better. $40 for this card in raw mint condition. And I go, okay, that's pretty good. I bought my own Red's Pikachu for $40. I really want to get a PSA 10. I wonder how much that is. I look it up. PSA 10, $100. I'm like, okay, do I buy the raw card or do I buy the guaranteed PSA 10? $60 difference, right? So, we're getting into it. I looked it up. Okay, I found my raw copy for $40 listed online. I scanned through all the pictures from the seller. I looked at the back. I made sure there's no edge wear. I made sure there's no everything. I made sure the centering's good. Everything. And you also have to hope for a little bit of luck that there's no hidden damage. They don't damage it in shipping. All this other stuff. This is why I think as a beginner you should buy on eBay, because you can just return anything you want and the sellers will help you with everything. I hope I'm not reflecting light into the camera with this, but I still want to hold on to this for this part. So basically, you bought it at $40 because you found it was raw, and you know it sells for $100 in a 10. The grading fee is $15 plus fees and like shipping costs back and forth to PSA. For me, it costs like $3 both ways. So in my grading costs usually 18 US, but let's just use 15. Let's imagine you go to PSA in person, you hand it to them. You get this card graded, you get a PSA 10 of your own for $55. You go, awesome, that sells for $100. Now, you list it on eBay for $100. Everyone else has there for $100. It doesn't sell for $100. Maybe you put it up for $90 and it finally sells. After fees, let's say you have free shipping as well. You give someone a really great deal because you're a great guy, Jake. I know you're a great guy. You don't have to tell me you're a great guy. I know you're a great guy. But after fees, you're looking at around $75 with free shipping. So you ended up with $75. You sold it for $90. Shipping is like $5. Fees is like $9, $10. Sure, it's $75. It costs you $55 to create this. That's pretty much the whole calculation. And then you get a $20 buffer. So the next time you get $20 profit from that, you go, well, I know Red's Pikachu is great. Now, a lot of people, I think this card's like 20, 30, 40,000 PSA 10s. It has to be. There's so many. I've sold hundreds of them. One of the best cards ever. You pretty much, you go back, you go, I'm going to buy another Red's Pikachu. That was easy. Wasn't that easy, was it? Because you had to find the card, you had to get it in, you had to risk grading it, you had to hopefully get a 10, you had to send it in the mail multiple times. Not that easy. But you get to the point where like, okay, Red's Pikachu. And the same calculation applies for Rayquaza VMAX. Rayquaza VMAX, $20 raw copy. PSA 10 sells for $80. You know? Let's look at this card in the camera, by the way. Let's see how good this looks. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. That's nice. That's really nice. So the same applies to the Rayquaza. And you're like, well, I don't know anything about Rayquaza because I don't collect Rayquaza cards. I'm a Pikachu collector. This is when you can use your knowledge of buying and selling. Once you do it a few times, you can be like, okay, Rayquaza is $25, sells for $80 in PSA 10. Plus the grade, we can try and find a mint one. We can hopefully get lucky. There's a lot of luck involved in grading. Anyone that tells you not is not, but there's a lot of luck, not just the grading. It's the buying of the card, getting it in mint condition, not getting it destroyed in transit, all these other things. So I hope it's like, how do you know which cards are worth grading? So I graded my first card in 2017. 6 years. Probably 20, maybe even 25,000 cards between all the companies. It might even be more. I don't take count. I don't know what I'm doing. But eventually, each one of these stacks is a different card. I just apply the same principle to every single card. And I don't even care if you copy and sell the same cards I do. If you can find these cards cheaper than me, and you can sell them for lower than I can, that's great for the customer, and I'm happy with that. Your cards will sell eventually, and then my cards will sell eventually. I'm not in a rush to sell anything. I really don't care. So I hope that's understood. That I have some cards. You see me sell the non-holo cards. You see me sell cards from random sets here and there and there. Eventually, you start to get in your brain, your mind, the knowledge, and then you start branching out your collection. So I started in Wizards of the Coast, so I only used to grade Wizards of the Coast, and I did Japanese in one area, and now I do all the Japanese, and it's just growing. Slowly growing. It's not a race. It's not a rush. You'll get there eventually. You'll figure it out, but that's pretty much it. You find what it costs raw, plus the grade. You find what it sells for. Add in all the risk. Maybe you won't get a 10 or 9. And you'll spit out with a talking cat in a hat, talking through the camera, trying to help you out. Ernie Lee, Steve, in the past 1 to 2 years, what are some of the biggest L's? Or how bad did you misguess on a particular card or trend? Ernie Lee, thank you for the question. You're asking how much I lost. I really appreciate that. 1 second, water break. Okay, Ernie Lee. Biggest losses. To be honest, I haven't had many, if any, financial losses that I can think of greatly. Maybe I bought a card for $200 and it comes in damaged and I sell it for $150. Maybe something like that. My largest losses, this is going to sound weird, but my largest losses is not buying more cards. And I know that's probably terrible to hear because it's probably the worst advice I could ever give anyone. And I'm just a talking cat in a hat. But there are so many cards that I wish I bought more. This card here, Dream League Lily. I've bought and sold 50 graded copies of this card. Beautiful. I think I have 4 left. Think about it. You sell 50 of one thing, it's still not enough. It's not buying more is probably my biggest crutch since 2016, 2017, 2018, every single year. And the craziest thing is I sit here and people go, this is crashing, that's crashing, everything's going down. Cards aren't going to get easier to find. Even cards that came out last year aren't even easy to find. It's scary. I am legitimately scared year on year that I'm not buying enough. That's why you see me buy so much, because I'm scared. It's not even based on real things anymore. I'm just fucking scared, Ernie, man. I'm just scared. It's yeah. So some things what made it some of the things I'm holding on to for a while now that probably is unnecessary. I got like some illustration Charizards, like 50 left somewhere that I paid like $25 each for. I mean, a recent loss, maybe, if you want to call it loss, like V-Star Universe Charizard, this one. Great card, you know, similar card. I only sell for a little bit of profit, but I think I bought another 150 copies of these for like $75. Now the price is like $60, so maybe I lost $2,000 on paper if I just waited, but they did a mass reprint. It's insane, and it's just being absorbed, but not as much absorbed as maybe I thought. Not a big deal. It's really good for me. They mass reprint the boxes. I'm just going to go buy some boxes, or I'm going to buy more Charizards. I'm in it for the long haul. Once I grade the Charizard, I might even break even on a bunch of them. And I don't think breaking even should nowhere near be as frowned upon as what it is, but breaking even is amazing. It's an amazing tool. If you get to buy something, you sell it, you get to connect with a customer, you get a feedback, you get to refine your process, you get to do the listing, you get to do all the things. It's actually a gracious thing to be able to break even. So I really don't mind sharing these kind of things. But yeah, not buying enough is probably the worst thing. Tobias Alexander. How did you get started on the selling business, and what advice would you give to a newcomer? So Tobias, this question isn't really a question, but it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. So basically listen to everything in this video that I've kind of given advice on, or not advice, I'm just a cat, but listen to everything in this video that your fellow cat brother in a hat has said. Probably the best thing you could do. How did I get started? 2014, I was buying and selling retro games. I really liked Nintendo 64s, GameCubes at the time, so I was buying as much as I can because I noticed there was a little bit of a thing. Eventually, my mom found my old box of Pokemon cards in a shoebox. I looked up how much they were worth. I was already kind of inclined with using eBay and like arbitrage from the US selling like Nintendo 64 stuff. So, and like from the UK, I used to buy a lot of like PAL stuff from the UK and then sell it in Australia because it was so much cheaper there than it was here. And then I noticed like base set Venusaur was like $5 in the US and base set Venusaur in Australia was like $15. So all I did was just eventually sell my cards, buy more cards, sell my cards, buy more cards, sell my cards. And now I'm here talking to a camera pretending to be a cat. Thank you for the question, Tobias. Oh, what advice do you give to a newcomer? Don't give up. Just start collecting. It's a slow race. This is 8 years for me so far. 8 or 9 years. It's not stopping. I really hope I can look in this camera in 8 years' time and go, 16 years for me so far. That's kind of it. Yeah. I hope that helps. I hope we can make it to 16 years together. I hope you can make your own YouTube and teach me how to, I don't know, treat my hip and knee pain in 16 years' time. Or 8 years' time. Snow Links, what do you think about grading normal ultra rares from Sword and Shield to sell? Do they sell relatively quick, around 30 USD price? Well, I don't really grade that many normal ultra rares from Sword and Shield, but I can imagine you can just find this information just by going ebay.com, searching the sold listings, and then seeing if they're actually selling for 30 USD. If they are, probably answers your question. But I will say, on most modern sets, something like this Greavard, let me see if this is in the camera. Something like this Greavard, right? Like obviously, it's just an AR from the most recent Scarlet and Violet 1 set. Something that I've been doing a lot from the past like 3 or 4, 5, 6 sets, ever since like the bulk is kind of open again. I have been, there we go. I buy like 5 of those. So I got 5 here, ready to go. I buy for like 10 and I grade 5 of them. I'll just sell them throughout the year. It might take 2 years, might even take 3 years, but add it to my inventory. I price in like a $20 margin at what I paid raw plus the grade. And I just put multi-quantity 5 or a set quantity 1 and just relist every time. The modern stuff is great for it just moves fast. It's really cool looking. People love it. After a few sets time, they stop loving it, and then maybe a few more sets go back and people come back to it. You'll probably notice there's like 1 or 2 bad sets usually in a whole rotation, and then people start to go back to a whole bunch of the older sets that look previously cool to pick up stuff that they missed. So modern grading ultra res is not a bad idea, but don't base everything you do around it because you might be stuck holding on to them for a long time. But that's when you break even and move on to the next thing. Perfectly fine. How are we doing for time? Oh my god, we're almost at 1 hour. That is crazy. Lava Rock. What are your thoughts on full art trainers as an investment? That's a crazy question. And do you think the Lily full art from Ultra Prism will keep rising or crash a lot in the future? Lava Rock, how's it going? My name's Steve. I bought an Ultra Prism Lily, the Japanese version from GX Battle Boost, in March 2020 for $200. It's gem mint graded. I can imagine the market price of that card right now. I think I saw one sell for roughly $22,000, $24,000 yesterday, last week. Even if that card crashed by like $23,400, technically that would be a 3x. A 3x since I bought it 3 years ago. That would actually be quite great. Better than most English Wizards of the Coast cards. What do I think of Full Art Trainers as an investment? Right now, they're kind of going crazy. Anyone can sit here and be like, I told you so. I told you so. I've been buying them since late 2019. I really like them. I wish they weren't so expensive so I could buy more, but there's some cheap ones out there. There's ones that are still pretty good, $20 to $30 each. It's not that serious that you don't have to buy. You don't have to have the most expensive ones. Do I think Lily will crash? I don't think much, to be honest. I don't really care if it crashes. I hope it crashes. I hope it crashes all the way down to $1 so I can buy 1 billion copies of the card. That's how I approach situations like that because I'm a collector. I want the card. I want to get as many as I possibly can. It's actually great for collectors if cards just go and we can buy all the stuff we want. So, hope that answers your question. ZF Pokmon. Would love an updated room tour video from the business side, how you set up packing supplies, sleeves, tools, everything. I'll do that for you eventually, mate, no problem. I try not to show too much of where everything in my office is so someone doesn't break in, kill me, and take all my stuff, but I'll do it for you. Shadows Lock, my questions. What's your favorite card from your collection? Lily from GX Ultra Battle Boost. Is that right? Lily? Yeah, sorry. My throat's just gone. Where's your favorite set? I do like all the legend sets from the Japanese legend sets L1 to L3, plus Lost Link. I think they're quite great. The prime cards are kind of lame, but the non-holo artwork in most of those sets is like really nice, and I've really been attached to them. Apart from that, I'm not really a set collector. I don't really do that kind of stuff, so that's it. We had a few Instagram questions I was going to answer, but I pretty much answered all those people's questions through Instagram. So we got ZF Pokemon with another question here. What is the brand of plushie you have? The 151. So, we'll just get my copying out. They're called the hashtag My151 Pokemon Fits. Coffee. They call the My151 Pokemon Fit cards or Fit plushies. I bought the whole set for like $9 per plush. They're awesome. I think they're some of the best plushie ever. Might be a little bit more expensive in the US because they're all released in Japan. And with the import and everything, it's kind of lame. But yeah, some of the coolest things. If I had more time and more space, if I had a big warehouse, I would probably have over 100 of each one of these. And I would just be reselling them for like $10 more on eBay. Because I think I would probably make a masterpiece out of that. So, that's it. I'm really happy. Really happy with the way this went. Unfortunately, I had to record the video multiple times. It really sucks that I did that, but it is what it is. I'm testing this new microphone. Let me know if it's good. Maybe if I walk up too close to it. Maybe I knocked it before and it made it a little scratchy, but I don't want that to happen. And I hope you have a good day, and I'll go back into the video shot. I hope you have a great day. I hope you had a great Easter holiday. I hope everything in your life is great. I hope you stay safe. Keep on collecting, buying, selling. Let me know how you're going. We'll do another AMA next month. Maybe we'll do a weekly one. Maybe do a 4 in the month. Something like that. Leave your comments below. Let me know how you feel. Let me know how you go. Say Venusaur if you made it to the end of the video. And I'm really tired. I'm going to bed. Good night, everyone. Sleep tight.